Welcome to today's episode where we're talking all about the affordability of Houston. Is Houston still affordable? The answer is an absolute yes, but you got to keep these three things in mind. We're going to go over those and we're going to show you some amazing options that you can catch at an affordable price here in Houston. Stay tuned. If we're talking real estate around Houston, we have to always keep in mind the three big L's in real estate. We have to talk about location, we have to talk about the looks, and we have to talk about the loot or whatever it is that you are willing to pay. The Houston market, based on the sales data, has told us that in today's market, they are willing to pay $450,000 for the average house. So what does that mean for you as a buyer? That means that if your budget is a little bit lower than that, then you may need to be a little bit further out. Your house may be a little bit smaller. You may give up on some of those amenities. If your budget is higher than that, then you're going to get a little bit more luxury, a little bit more square footage, a little bit more amenities, so on and so forth, and be closer to the place that you actually want to be. But you don't have to sacrifice everything when you get to some of the lower budgets, especially those under 400,000. I have a house that is almost 2,300 square feet. I'm going to tell you what it costs at the end, but you won't believe how affordable this beautiful house is, and they're not skimping on all the finishes. It's a really nice one. This is by Legend Homes down here south of Houston. I'll give you all the details after we check out what this model has in store for us. Stay tuned. So what did you think about that house? It is a really nice, affordable option here, nearly 2,300 square feet. You got 4 bedrooms and an office and a flex game room area upstairs. That's really tough to beat, and you won't believe what this costs right now in this market with those finishes. $320,000. That is $130,000 less than what the average single family home sold price is, and all you had to do in this instance is change your location a little bit. So if that's going to be tip number one, is if you're under a certain budget, there's going to be some sacrifices that you have to make. If you're under 450 in today's market, there's going to be some sacrifices that you're making. And whether that's the size of the home, whether that's the location, you may be in an area, if you're trying to be closer to the city, for example, at that price point, you may be in an area that's a little bit more in transition. You may be in a house that is older. Those are going to be the sacrifices that you're going to make. But the easiest one to manipulate and still get a nice, especially new construction home, is to manipulate the location and take a little bit of a longer drive than maybe you were anticipating or wanting to do out the gate. But $320,000, you get 2,300 square feet, game room, you get a flex space or an office, 4 bedrooms and a nice backyard, granite countertops, luxury vinyl plank. Also, the HOA here is $450 a year. So kind of hard to beat on that, right? But that is the first option of what you could get here. Now, Legend Homes is kind of one of those people that play an interesting role in the metro. They tend to be near really large master plan communities, and they're typically by themselves, and they are usually servicing a need for people that really want an affordable option near all of the things that they're trying to piggyback off of. So around here you have my community of Meridiana. Just not too far down the street from here you have Lace of Savannah, which was another fairly big Lennar master plan community that popped up a couple years ago. I think they might still be building in there, but they were kind of on their way out last year when I was out there. And so Legend Homes is one of those builders that tend to be by themselves and try to provide a need to get in a price point that is even lower than those and give you more square footage, because they're going to cut back on some of the amenities, the pools and the splash pads and all the other things that come with being in a big master plan community. But you're going to be right next to it, so you'll be able to piggyback off of their stores, off of their shopping and things that come out in the area. So included in your $450 a year HOA fee, you're going to get sidewalks. I know that sounds crazy to some people just because sidewalks should be a given, but in Houston you would be shocked that the amount of communities that don't just have sidewalks throughout. This one does, and so it makes it walkable for them, which kind of plays into their fitness initiative here. You're also going to get a pocket park and a little bit of a pavilion little park where you can sit down and kind of have like a little birthday party here. But that's pretty much going to be it. But that's one of the sacrifices that you're going to make when you come down to a price point that is well above the average single family home sales price in the market. But for $450 a year, this is really clean. Most of your neighbors have their grass cut. None of the houses are in disrepair. Everything's looking nice and clean. So I wouldn't have any gripe about getting one of these houses back here for myself personally. So definitely a great option, and it is only $320. Some of these one-story options down here are going to start right around $260 out here. So crazy pricing in an area that is up and coming. They just got the HEB down 6. That's our piggybacking off of our HEB on 6. You're not too much farther from a Starbucks, so remember those points when I'm telling you about looking at a house. You're really close to some things, and if you keep going down 6 the opposite way, you're like 10 minutes from Missouri City in the Siena area. So this is a really great option here. Now, if you take a step up in price and we get to that like $3 to $375 kind of range, you can get into a bigger community, kind of like the one that we are in right now. We're in Post Oak Point. It is a D.R. Horton community that it's a master plan community, kind of a smaller one. I think it's going to be around 500 homes, so a lot bigger than where we just left, but it's going to be definitely a small step down when it compares to like a Meridiana or Lace of Savannah. It's just not going to have the same scale, but you're going to be your own master plan community and have the access to 521, 2288, and the other surrounding communities as well. So this one, as it stands, is about 345,000. We're gonna go and take a look at that one. Let me know what you think. And this one is probably going to be the most controversial show today, because I know that you've seen the things on Instagram and YouTube about D.R. Horton just being this ultra terrible builder and all these things that can get sensationalized and blown up. But I've been selling D.R. Horton in the Houston Metro for 5 or 6 years now, and I have personally just never had a client experience that was that bad, right? The biggest issues that my clients had during the pandemic was that they were just probably outselling what they could service and warranty at the point in time, and the issues that my clients had were very small. They had minor drainage issues, they had a little bit of a gate issue, they had a sprinkler system issue. It wasn't anything major, it was just more so, just little things that needed to be tweaked that in normal circumstances would have been caught at a blue tape walk and would have been finished before closing dates, but just in the speed at which COVID was happening, people were just putting houses down and just trying to keep up as best as they can. But my motto is always, with any of these new construction homes, is trust but verify. You're going to get a third-party inspection if you're working with me, and because you're watching this video, I'm assuming that you're going to hit me up to work with me. But if you're working with me, you're going to get a third-party inspection. It's like non-negotiable, because you're not going to be calling me 6 months later saying, why is this house about to cave in? And you didn't get an inspection because you assumed, because it was new construction, that everything would be good. You're going to get an inspection. But this is what you're paying for. I just wanted to show you, like, you're paying for this amenity package. You're paying for this dock. You're paying for this pool. You're paying for the fountains and the winding roads once you take that step up in price, right? And so, yes, it is affordable. Yes, this metro does have great options, and we still have further up that we can go by increasing that price point just a little bit. And you'll also step into that like luxury price point of a builder when you go up just a little bit, right? So definitely want to encourage you, for those of you that are moving from other places that are major metros that are more expensive. So if you're coming from like your Floridas, you're coming from your Californias, your New York, like a lot of my clients that are reaching out to me, you're gonna look at this and be like, I can get what for 400,000? I can get what for 500,000? And for those of you that are from Houston that have been here for a while and know kind of like what it used to be like, I understand the frustration, but unfortunately, I don't think it's gonna go back to the way it used to be prior to COVID, where for 300,000 you could get a nice little mini McMansion, or you can be kind of close to the city and get pretty much whatever you wanted. Those days are long gone. But if you make the adjustment on what your looks and your location are, you can always find affordable options in Houston, because we're one of the best large metros in the nation to provide affordable housing right now. So we're going to take a step up in price point, and we're going to go to what should look very familiar to you now on my channel, in the motherland. We are in Meridiana, which is where me and my family decided to call home. But what's even crazier than the deals and things that you can afford in Meridiana in a luxury community is the fact that you haven't hit me up yet. You haven't pulled out your phone, hit the comment section, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. You haven't hit that notification bell yet. You haven't reached out and said, Aaron, I need you to be my agent. To all of these people that I've done multiple deals with in the metro, even if I'm not with you, if you put my name and my number down, I would be able to help represent you and make sure that you're getting the absolute best deal in the marketplace. But if you don't do that, then I can't help you out. But yeah, other than that, the craziest thing about this is that all of these builders that you basically see in here right now, you can afford something sub 450. Now, what you're going to see is the delicate game that we play between the 3 L's of real estate that we talked about earlier. What are they again? Looks, location, and the loot, or whatever you're willing to pay. And so going back to Charleston Heights, when we compare that to the Post Oak Point is seen as a more desirable location than Charleston Heights, because it has more amenities, it had more thing to do, it had more easy access to highways and just things kind of closer to it. And so what you're going to see is that in Charleston Heights, for the same amount of money, you're going to get way more house than you would in the D.R. Horton community. Whereas where they had the pools, the lakes, the walking trails, all of that stuff, for $340, you got about 1,800 square feet, versus Charleston Heights for $320, you got 2,300 square feet. If we step that on up to the beautiful Meridiana, where you have multiple amenity centers, you got multiple pools, multiple gyms, and still more to come, what you're going to see is for that same 340, you're going to get a smaller square footage of house, right? And so you will have options. Yes, it is still very much so affordable, but you're going to see that house shrink in just a little bit to kind of counteract being a much more, what the market deems as a much more luxury community here in the metro. For the first stop, we're going to check out Chesmar. We're going to check out their Versailles plan. This is around 1,900 square feet, and you can get this for a little over $350 right now in the metro. Now, that is an inventory deal that they have marked down. It isn't usually that affordable, but it's one of the reasons why I love Chesmar in this market, is because they typically give you a little bit more bang for your buck than you would typically get. And then we'll go and check out some of the other options here in Meridiana that you can get as well for under $450. Great option out here in Meridiana. Sub 400,000, beautiful home, 1,900 square feet. It's tough to beat in a community that is like this. I know for a fact, because some of these are my neighbors. Some of the Chesmar sections back up to the lake, and so some of them even have gate access out of their own backyard. So it really just, man, it's just really hard to beat being in a premium community like this, going down a little bit smaller in size. But again, to nail home the point that affordability is 1,000% possible in the greater Houston metro if you play with those parameters, the 3 big L's, right? But now let's go and check out this Perry Homes and see what we can get for you under $450 here. Now, depending on the finishes and things that you pick out for this one is 1,984 square feet, so almost 2,000 square feet for Perry Homes, and you can get this one for $380 to about $420 to $430. So let's go in here and check this one out and let me know what you think. Now, one of the reasons why I absolutely love Perry is because no matter the width of the home, when you compare the entryways and just kind of how wide or how grand or how open a space feels in any of their product lines, when you compare that to other builders in the same footprint of a width, and when you come out to these master plan communities, they all have a lot system like 40-foot lots, 50, 60, and so on. When you compare Perry homes entryways and kind of how tall their one stories feel and just kind of how grand they feel, they do a really great job of maximizing the floor plan to make it feel as grand and as luxurious as possible. So if we step on over to Coventry, they have this beautiful Elgin plan that is around 1,950 square feet that you can get for about $415 right now in inventory. They have a couple of them. They have one that's as low as $389, and then they got one that has an extra like powder room in there that brings it up in price to that like $412 to $415 price point. So check this one out and let me know what you think.
It's not a game, it's a rich thing.
super great option. 3 bedrooms and a media space, which is kind of not the norm, you know what I mean, for this price point. Definitely something to check out for sure. Definitely a great option from Coventry. Pretty much in this community, you're going to be able to afford options, like I said, from anything that's on that like 40 to 45-ish foot lot. You're going to be able to afford that sub 450 here. And behind me is my wife's old school favorite, the Everly plan, but now I wanted to take you into this new mark because it's one of the newest models that they have here, and it's one of the prettiest ones for sure. This is going to be the Bluebell plan. It is starting at like 385 base, and then of course if you add things onto that, the price is going to go up from there. But to get in and to have something that potentially looks this gorgeous on the outside and is going to look potentially as pretty as what you're about to see for under 450 is tough to beat. So the reality of this thing is, yes, Houston is super affordable. You just have to abide by the rules set in place for us of the big L's: location, looks, and loot. If you're willing to pay for it, you can get whatever you want in this metro. If we got to work within the confines of the budget, then we got to have to move what the looks look like and potentially that location. But the only thing that's standing in your way of getting something right now is you.